When we're talking about coordinate geometry in grade 10, we're really talking about linear equations or straight line equations. The straight line equations are characterized by two properties. One is the slope or the angle, and the other is to do with the location, or for us, we often use the y-intercept, and we can move that around. The vertical positioning is often what we use. However, we have started to look at the point slope form where we can use any point to describe the position of that line. So some of the main things that we're doing with this is that we want to look at the forms of the linear equation. So there's three forms that we've looked at. Okay, there is the y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, b is a y-intercept. We also have the point slope form where m again is the slope. X naught, y naught, that I've done in red, represents some point on the line, and it could represent any point on the line. And then we also have the general form, which is ax plus by plus c equals 0, and that gives us some information about intercepts. So the first thing, the most important property really is slope, and the slope can be defined by the change in y over the change in x. So we have the change in y first, the change in x second. We have to make sure that it's always in that order. So taking a look at example 1, it says, which of the following statements are true? Okay, so we've been given a line, and this line, we should really take a look at the slope of this line. So if I take a look at the slope, I can calculate slope between any 2 points on this line. So I'm just going to arbitrarily choose these 2 points. And I can see that the change in y going from left to right is going to be down 4, so it's minus 4. So that's my change in y. And I can see my change in x is equal to plus 3. So I've gone down and to the right. So the slope, my slope ratio then is going to be negative 4 over positive 3. So that's one of the things that characterizes this line. We could also, if we want to analyze the y equals mx plus b form, we could make note of the fact that the y-intercept is at 4. So then, looking at these equations, we can determine which one of these are correct. Well, if we take a look at one, the y-intercept seems to match. However, although the slope ratio is correct, it is not negative. Okay? It is definitely going down to the right. That means it's negative slope. That means that we can say that this is not an option. This is not a correct option. Taking a look at number 2, we're looking at the slope. The slope in the point slope form, that is the correct slope. It is negative 4 over 3. So we have the correct slope. And then this is in the point slope form. So this point here, x is plus 3. So I'm going to write it as an ordered pair. X is plus 3. And the y coordinate, because it's on this side, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be positive 8. Okay, now if I were to rewrite it the way I had it above, it's going to be negative 4 over 3, x plus 3, and then the minus 8 becomes plus 8 on this side. So the coordinate is going to be negative 3, that should be negative 3, positive 8. Okay, so if I take a look at negative 3, positive 8, that is a coordinate on this line. That means that this matches the slope and the positioning, so this must be a correct equation for that line. For number 3, this information, we could put this into y equals mx plus b form, just solve for y. That may be the choice that most people are comfortable with. And the alternative is to analyze the intercepts based in this form. So I'm going to do the first. So I'm going to rearrange this equation. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides and add 12 to both sides. So I get negative 4x, and I add 12 to both sides. I'm going to solve for y to put it into the mx plus b form. So I get a slope of negative 4 over 3. That matches, and I get a y-intercept of 4. So that looks like it's correct. So based on just converting it into y equals mx plus b, it does give us the right slope and the right y-intercept based on the mx plus b form. Okay, so there's my b, and there's my slope. Okay, this is 3. Okay, so the other way we could do this is we could analyze the intercepts here. Okay, so analyzing the intercepts, we can make a little table. I'm just going to make a table here, and I'm just going to plug in x is 0. When I plug in x is 0, I can solve for y. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides and divide by positive 3. That gives me 0, 4. Yep, that matches. That's a coordinate that matches. When I plug in y equals 0, and then I get this term canceling out, I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides, divide by 4. I get x equals 3 when I solve for that, and it looks like that point matches as well. So if the intercepts match, then that means that the only line that can pass through those two intercept points is going to be the line that was drawn. So again, that confirms that equation 3 is the correct equation for that line. So then we can say that 2 and 3 are going to be the ones that describe that line. Okay, so again, the main idea is that we're checking for the two properties, slope and y-intercept. When we look at the mx plus b or the point slope form, we can convert the general form into one of the other forms and check the slope and y-intercept or point. Or we can find the intercept points, analyze this with intercept points, and knowing the two intercept points, the one right here, okay, and the one right here, we know that the only line that can go through it will have the right slope and the right positioning.